Welcome back to the Personal Injury Law Show, viewers. It's that time of the show we've got Kathy's mailbag. Good evening, Kathy. How are you?
Good evening, Tony. Good evening, viewers. John, how are you?
Kathy.
I'm well,
What do you think
thanks.
of that show?
Interesting as usual. I mean, wills is a very interesting topic and there's always a lot of issues, so I hope that the viewers
And Kathy,
enjoyed
in this
that.
day and age where property's worth a lot of money and the population's ageing, John, you know, you've got people that have bought properties back in the 50s and 60s for a pittance in comparison.
Yeah.
And now, you know, they get to their 80s and these properties are worth millions. So you're going to have families where there's 5 kids or 3 and one's left out. They've always got a right to challenge because there's the issue of moral fortitude and dependency.
Our advice, Tony, is if you feel like you've been hard done by or left out of the will, when you feel like, well, no, I was a dependent and the deceased...
Well, there was promises made to you too, John.
Promises made, then you should seek legal advice.
And there's a lot of cases I used to see in the past where, you know, one of the will maker would leave 10,000 to a legacy of 10,000 to a child and a property to the other child.
Yeah.
I think you could still challenge in those circumstances.
Oh, you can, yes.
Yeah. So I think you'd get legal advice. It's interesting area.
I think you need to do another show on it, Tony. There's just too much to talk about. There's always issues, there's a lot of disputes and it's a very difficult matter at times at wills, but we should all have one, is what also the crux of it too.
Well, if you want your wishes to be followed through,
that's right,
then the more detailed the better in the will, isn't it?
What about the windfall that those neighbours got in Mount Martha when that Mrs Dyke died, you know, without any dependents?
Yes, exactly. They were very helpful neighbours, Tony. 11 million.
It's a lot of money.
But we'll save that for another show. We've got questions to get to tonight, and actually the first one is relating to wills, Tony, which is actually quite interesting that we've been able to bring this in. This is Carol from Moonee Ponds, and she writes, "Dear PI Show, my mother is in her 80s and she lives alone in regional Victoria. I know that she made out a will a few years ago in which she left everything to me and my sisters, but now that my dad has passed away, we are concerned that one of her neighbours might be trying to take advantage of her. A couple of times he has suggested she invest or lend him money and she has agreed. Other than asking her directly, is there any other way we can find out whether or not she has changed her will in favour of this guy? And if so, is there anything we can do about it? The truth is we don't trust this person and are worried that he is trying to take her money." Now, Tony, what advice have you got for Carol? That's a lot of issues with people trying to take advantage.
I think they got it right the first time. Ask her directly and treat her well, and then you got nothing to be so worried about. But at the end of the day, you can't go to the lawyer because of the privacy laws. If anyone come to me and said, "Oh, what did my mother do?" Unless the mother's there and gives permission, the lawyer can't divulge any information.
It's privileged.
As simple as that. It's privileged. And if the lawyer does, these days with the amendments to the Privacy Act, they can mount a claim against you, against the lawyer himself.
Oh, yes.
So it's very, very delicate. You've got to be careful. But at the end of the day, yeah, look, there are people out there trying to get their hands on other people's properties and assets.
I guess the concern, Tony, is, you know, the mother's living all alone in regional Victoria. Well, you know...
Well, wouldn't they spend a bit more time with her, go out and visit her, help her out a bit, take her out on some sort of picnic or family outings or something?
If you're not close with your mother, well, then of course you won't know what's going on.
Well, there's a real risk that she could leave it to someone else.
Exactly, so...
But even if you are close to your mother, which could be the case with Carol as well, you also don't want someone taking advantage of her, so she might want to actually have a chat to tell her about, raise the concerns, I should say, and
yes,
there could be some kind of discussion.
Look, there's the moral fortitude doesn't go one way here. I mean, the family's got to look after the elderly parents. And
exactly, can't just leave her all alone in regional Victoria and then just hope for a windfall later on.
That's right. You know, just let the days tick by so that one day you can collect. It doesn't work like that.
It doesn't work.
You know, love and affection and things like that don't go a long way, I think. Yeah.
That's correct. Well, we hope that's helped you, Carol. And
I don't think Carol likes me anymore, but anyway.
Well, you've given her sound advice. You've asked her to speak to her mother, so... Carol, keep writing in. We're going to move on to our next question for tonight. It's Dear John and Tony and Kathy, when I was 2 years old, I was accidentally given third-degree burns in hospital. The burns caused severe damage to both my nerves and muscles. The injury has always put me at a disadvantage, but in the last few years has become much worse. After innumerable tests, doctors have ended up being treated by one of Australia's most senior neurologists. He believes it's muscle calcification due to ray treatment burns and does not have a good prognosis. Is there anything I can do? Now, this comes from Tina in Doncaster, and that's really upsetting to hear that someone's been burnt as a 2-year-old and suffered third-degree burns. But John, I'll pass this to you. What advice do you have?
We don't know the age of Tina, but Tina, if you've reached 18, then the statute of limitations issues will start ticking away. So you need to see a lawyer straight away, immediately, to seek legal advice. It sounds like you do have a public liability / medical negligence claim against the hospital, particularly given that you've got this senior surgeon giving such a prognosis. Tony?
Well, John, when it reads accidentally, it sounds to me that someone's made a mistake. So
Exactly.
I think you'd be able to prove negligence.
You'd think so.
Although you'd have to get medical opinion on that.
Yeah.
And also the 5% test, you'd pass that as well,
You'd
for
think
pain and
so,
suffering.
yes.
But even if you don't, and I think you will in these circumstances, you're still entitled to your medical expenses, any loss of income in the future, and those sorts of things.
And
Yeah, Tina's got until the age of 21. It's 18 plus 3.
So the
Yeah.
biggest fact that's missing here is actually Tina's age at this point.
Yes,
But
yes.
I think
seek legal
this
advice,
could be a
Tina.
massive case, you know. This could be, you know...
It's a female that suffered this serious injury, Tony.
And also, it sounds to me that it will be an effect on her future capacity to earn income.
Exactly.
Because it's affecting her nerves and muscles.
Exactly.
Tina, get advice.
We hope that's helpful.
Sounds like a good case.
Okay, we're moving on to our next question. DPI show. I had 2 wisdom teeth removed 6 weeks ago, and ever since I have developed partial numbness and constant pain in my right arm, which is affecting my employment and ability to play tennis. I also have medical bills mounting up from specialist appointments. The advice I'm getting from my doctors is that recovery will be a matter of time and could take months. Do you think I have a claim against the dentist? This is Sarah from Hawthorn. Tony, what's your take on this?
I've never heard of wisdom teeth affecting someone's right arm. I'm not sure what the nerve pathways are and whether teeth would be connected to an arm. So causation seems to be a big issue in this
Difficult case, Tony.
Yeah.
There was a case involving teeth work a few years ago in the county court that went on for about 1 or 2 weeks, Tony.
Yep.
And gee, that was look. The plaintiff got up in the end.
Really?
But at the same time, it was a very difficult case.
I think the
Tony.
starting point is you've got to get someone to support the fact that removing the wisdom teeth caused this problem with the arm.
and that it was foreseeable that such an injury would occur.
It's a difficult case.
Difficult.
This one here, you can't go without legal advice. And then you've got to have permanent damage to sue for pain and suffering under
Yes.
the Wrongs Act. So there's a lot of issues.
You still have to seek legal advice.
Okay. Well, viewers, that's all the time we have for tonight. But thank you for writing in, and we ask that you keep writing into us at our email address, which is info@thepishow.com, and catch up on earlier episodes at www.thepishow.com. And next week, we've actually got a very interesting topic, so please stay tuned for that. It's on dangerous dogs, and in current context of life, it's a very interesting matter that you should not miss out on. So please keep watching.
Thanks, Kathy.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
John. Thanks,
you.
viewers, and
Thank
stay
you.
safe.